So, today we're taking a look at a mechanical keyboard from Ajazz. But for you guys that are a little bit more familiar with their usual gaming peripheral stuff, this is not that. This guy is the Ajazz Zinc 65% mechanical keyboard. And for transparency, it was Epomaker who sent this in for review, but as you guys are probably tired of hearing already, it plays no part and makes no difference in what you're about to hear anyway. Now, right out of the gate, there is a qualifier that I feel we should establish before moving further. Despite being from Ajazz, this is not targeting either gamers or mechanical keyboard enthusiasts. It has much more of a sort of office vibe to it. But first things first, let's talk build. The Zinc, well, from the name, one would expect it to be made of the stuff, and I cannot confirm nor deny that it is, but at least from the site, we get the information that the base is actually a CNC zinc alloy one, and the top portion, a CNC aluminum alloy. Nice. It's very sturdy and looks pretty premium, all things considered. The weight is hefty, but the aluminum zinc alloy seems kind of malleable. It doesn't really creak or crack, but it does scratch pretty easily, and that brushed metal look doesn't really do enough to save the day. The body is somewhat slim, and it does have a little bit of an angle to make it a more comfortable typing experience, but there is no way of adjusting that angle. What you get is what you get. But one of the best things about the Zinc by far is that 65% layout. My personal favorite. And to segue us into the features, top right corner you have a cluster of LEDs to indicate cable connection, charging, Bluetooth, and caps lock. Backside there's a Bluetooth/USB button for switching between the modes without the need to unplug the keyboard, and a switch to turn the board on and off. And it has a 3000 mAh battery inside. Now that Bluetooth is only 3.0 unfortunately, but since I've had only 2 cases of it like dropping connection on the very first day I started testing the Zinc, and from then on never again, I really don't expect anyone that would be actually using this thing to have, connectivity issues or latency issues. Plus, the way it's implemented means you can connect this thing to up to 3 devices and potentially a 4th directly through the cable, and you can switch between all of them pretty easily. Real world usage, I don't really know if you would actually multitask on 4 different devices at the same time, say for example a phone, a tablet, a laptop, and a PC, but you can. And if any of you guys end up buying one of these things and expect to be gaming with it, just make sure to have it plugged in and you're good. Trust me, I've tested. Aside from that, we have per key white illumination across the entire board, which is pretty shiny. Well, you have the aluminum plate underneath that obviously helps, but most importantly, it's actually white. And you can opt for leaving it off, on, or this wavy pattern. And with that 3000 mAh cell, this thing is supposed to hit 300 hours of standby time. And that's awesome, but in actual usage, with lighting on, static, I had 6.5 days in a charge. About 8 to 10 hour days of actually using it and typing a lot of stuff. No lights, this board actually hit close to 10 days. That is definite thumbs up material. And speaking of lights, it does look good, but as with 99% of every keycap set ever made that's shine through, it's not 100% consistent across the entire keyboard. There are a couple of shadow spots here and there. Nothing major, but it is visible. The keycaps are ABS plastic and feel smooth, which is a combination that usually means it's going to pick up on finger oils rather easily, and I would not put it past this set to actually end up doing just that after a couple of days or even hours of typing. Mine, for example, definitely already show signs. But the quality of ABS keycaps has gone up lately, so I'm not really concerned about, deterioration or the actual keycap set degrading too quickly or too much. What I will say is that for a board more office oriented, I expected the font choices to be a little bit more clean. The legends are thick enough, the visibility isn't an issue, but the design language is a bit quirky, and the secondary ones, although printed throughout the entirety of the keyboard, which means it's super easy to know exactly where each function is, have absolutely no cohesion to the main ones, which overall gives you a tad bit disjointed look. And the last thing would be the switches, which are true cherry, rated at 50 million clicks, this one particularly being cherry browns. They are all soldered to the board, which means that any modification calibration work is instantly made more difficult, especially for those stabilizers that, for lack of a nicer way of putting it, are kind of terrible out of the box. Now, as you guys just heard, those stabilizers are goners. I mean, the overall sound profile and acoustics of this board aren't like completely trash or terrible, but there are plenty of other office type keyboards that sound much worse than this. Still, those stabilizers do merit some work put into them. At least it doesn't have any ping or resonance. But since I have a little bit more patience and I wanted to just see how much I could push this thing without having to desolder stuff, I kind of brute forced a little bit of lube inside of every single stabilizer in this board through the cracks and the spaces in the housing and on the sidewalls of the pillars to see if it would make a difference. And, well, would you look at that? Does quite a bit, actually. Does not solve the problem, and it doesn't eliminate completely the rattly noises from the stabilizers, but it changes the experience a whole lot. It makes it so much better. But at the same time, it does also exacerbate something that I didn't notice completely before, which is every single key on this keyboard does sound a little scratchy. I mean, it's nothing major, it doesn't take away from the typing experience, which is kind of good, it's kind of nice, but these being cherry switches, it's just unexpected. Well, I say it's nothing major, but this is a $100 keyboard, and at this price bracket, a few nothing majors kind of add up. And in this case, I'd say that the main ones would definitely be the typing experience with the scratchy switches, since there are people that are more sensitive to that than others, and the fact that you lack angle adjustability. Now, the micro USB instead of USB Type-C, Bluetooth 3.0 instead of 5.0, the slightly inconsistent lighting, the fonts being seemingly less professional, the ABS keycaps, and the frankly terrible stabilizers out of the box are all like sort of negatives, but they're also potentially negligible for those that would be buying the Zinc, considering the target office demographic. The 65% layout, the full metal body build, the reliable cherry switches for longevity, multi-device connectivity, the pretty decent battery life, and up to an extent the looks, probably are potential bonuses that are going to trample and overcome the shortcomings that we just talked about. And honestly, even for me, I think I'd only single out the stabilizers as being like true big negatives, but that's probably also mainly because of a recent keyboard review that I've done on the Neon up there that at $100 as well come with pre-lubed stabs out of the box that obviously sound better than these ones. I admit it, the Zinc being a 65% board started this race for sure with at least one thumbs up in its favor already, because it is, you know, my personal preference, but it also had more potential for disappointing me, and honestly, it didn't, at least not completely. So, the Zinc does get its final thumbs up. But I would also say that $100 is about as much as it would be acceptable for a board like this, even for, you know, suit and tie office types. Ajazz, those little things do add up, so you guys do need to bump up the level of polish a little bit for next time. And that's been it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, so share it and check out these other ones that might be of interest to you as well. Thanks a lot for watching, this is Gus, and I'll catch you guys later.